Hi, friends. Good to see you again. I have with me Dean Williamson. Welcome, Dean.
Hi.
If you guys are thinking that performing arts is something that has to be done, on a stage or in person, and if you're thinking, well, virtual world and digital world is limited, then I guess it's a limitation of our thinking. Dean has proven it as well, and through this brilliant journey of his over the last few years, he's going to reveal, some of the extraordinary things that they have achieved with what they do in performing arts. And it's a magician, so hope you guys are ready for a magic show. Well, the magic here is going to be turning your business 100 times the growth, right? Or probably 1,000 times the profitability, right? So is that the magic that you're looking for? Well, stay tuned and let's get on with the interview. Dean, tell us the interesting name of your business and why that name.
Yes, thank you for the warm introduction, Sachin. So we are the Factory of Magic. We're the UK's currently only talent agency dedicated to the magical arts. So we're a talent agency for magicians. We find work for magicians for events, whether that be weddings, corporate events, a christening perhaps, anywhere that needs magical entertainment, but also, which we'll talk about shortly, virtually as well, so online. So you can see magic in person and over Zoom perhaps, like this. The actual name came about from one of our performers, a chap named Rick Green. He was the first magician to get a yes off every judge on Britain's Got Talent, way back when magic wasn't that cool. We like to think it's pretty cool now, but he kind of set the trend with that. So we worked together on a name which became the Factory of Magic. So rather than a traditional factory which produces goods, we create memories that will last a lifetime. And that's a little plug for our tagline as well. So everything we do is geared towards magic and the art of magic and the magical community as well. We've streamlined everything we do to just focus on that. Many talent agencies will focus on various things. You may go to them to book a juggler, perhaps, a comedian, a singer, a magician. They may also provide a red carpet, photography, photo booths. We don't do any of that. We just book magicians for events. That's exactly what we focus on. So if you work with a Factory of Magic, it's all about magic, and that means that we become that trusted advisor because we're experts in that specific area.
Yeah, I would say magical memories for people.
Exactly, that's it. It's entertainment, it's fun, and we need that right now. We need a bit of light entertainment for
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
During any time, to be fair. But yeah, we want to make people smile and make people happy, and it's just a very nice thing to do.
Absolutely. I think behind all that we are doing throughout our life, finally what we're looking for is just a bit of laugh and happiness. And magic is probably a direct way to have happiness. So yeah, what better thing to do in life than entertaining people? Fantastic.
There's something else I'd probably add at this point, actually, Sachin, because you've touched on a really, really good point there, and that is that, so there's a phrase, magic is medicine. And if you can perform for somebody and make them smile, you'll instantly make them feel better about themselves. And that can be in any format, whether that's a work event or a wedding, or whether it may be. And it just so happens that we use magic as kind of that formula to make people happy.
Brilliant. Magic is medicine, like that.
Absolutely.
So what's your backstory? How did you get into this, and how was your journey so far?
Sure. So I guess going back to the very beginning, it's in the magic community, it's probably a very cliched story, I would say, very stereotypical of a magician, that when I was a really small young boy, my uncle, who was a magician, showed me a trick with some elastic bands, and it amazed me, it wowed me, and I thought I would love to do that. And then it just kind of went from there, becoming a member of the Young Magicians Club in Blackpool, northwestern England. and just having a real passion for magic. At that stage, I was what's known as a hobbyist. So that's someone that collects magic, performs for their friends, family, doesn't do it professionally or to anything involved in business. And from there, I went and had a career in telecoms, so in sales, working for sort of big internet service providers. And I guess that was kind of my background to learning about business, really. And I think that that's given me kind of a good foundation for where I'm at now. So alongside that, I had a family, moved from Blackpool to Manchester to go to university, and just led a normal life, if you will, because I don't think magic's that normal. It's quite niche and unique, really. Unless you're in the community, then it is normal. So went had a background, worked in telecoms, and then eventually started going out to gig to go and perform myself. So I'm a stage mind reader as well. Performed all kinds of different events, trade shows, corporate events, kind of you name it, really. My background's mainly on stage as opposed to close up. And then I formed the Factory of Magic, which is the business we're talking about today, coming up to 2 years ago now.
All right. Okay. So your birthday is close by.
It really, really is. And it's an interesting backstory as to why we set up that specific time, which I can go into now if you'd like.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as of this recording today, we were talking earlier, Sachin, that today it's the 2-year anniversary, which seems a bit of a crass way of saying it, but it is 2 years since the UK went into lockdown. Overnight, magicians in the UK and quite a large portion of the world lost their portfolios overnight. They couldn't go out and perform. It wasn't allowed. We weren't allowed to go to the pub. We couldn't go to a cinema. We certainly couldn't go to a theatre. And that absolutely horrified me, because alongside loving performing myself, I love watching magicians as well. And the idea that they couldn't go out and perform was horrific to me. So I thought, what could I do to help the magic community and help a select group of magicians to find work? And so was born the Factory of Magic. Now, coinciding with this was a form of magic that's now blossoming, which is virtual magic, so performing over Zoom. And we're also talking earlier about how virtual magic wasn't a thing in the past. You could say watching it on TV was kind of a form, but in terms of someone actually performing live over Zoom to you, kind of sprung up overnight. It was a format, a platform to still be able to perform. So this is very different from anything that's gone before, because I can't say to you, pick a card, because you threw a screen. The technology's not there yet to teleport a card to you. So it's how do you perform under those conditions? How can I read your mind perhaps through a screen? So there's a whole wealth of magicians, plethora of magicians that changed their act completely. That enabled us to generate work. So we had this problem of magicians couldn't go out and work, but people want to be entertained. So what's the solution? The solution is to go virtual, to perform over Zoom. Now, a week ago, the Magic Circle, one of the oldest magical institutions in the world, actually had its first competition for Virtual Magician of the Year. So it's interesting to see how the process of there not being anything called virtual magic to all the way to there being an actual competition to find the best virtual magician. Yeah. So it's amazing. And some people just perform virtually. They may never go back to performing in person, maybe because it's easy because you're at home, just perform in your bedroom. I don't know. But it's interesting to see that journey. So the journey of the Factory of Magic, my business, is kind of coincided with virtual magic becoming a thing.
I think this is probably one of the toughest challenge that I would, think of, during pandemic and especially in recent times. It's because the entire business is centered around going out there and, glorifying the events. And if the events are not happening, the physical events are not happening, where do you go? How do you perform? Right. And performing, which is interacting with people who are physically there. As you said, how do you pick a card? Right. And how do you actually engage? How do you ensure that, if you have 50 people, 100 people watching over Zoom, they're still active, they're still looking at you? Because when you are on stage, you can see in the eyes of people and ensure that they are involved and they're paying attention. But over Zoom, how do you do that? I seriously think, your industry has probably faced the toughest of the challenges. And if I may ask, if you could elaborate a little bit more of virtually, how do you do magic show? And secondly, are you getting enough response? Are you happy with the response?
Sure. So I think you've touched on a really good point there, and that's about adapting. And I think you kind of need to do that in any walk of life, in any business, whether it's entertainment or whatever industry you're in, because you have to change for seasonal times, for events that are happening around the world, and none more so than in a pandemic. So all of a sudden you can't go out and perform. So what do? Well, we perform virtually over Zoom. Now, it is a really interesting format because, well, even so now, one of the problems we had at the beginning, everybody will have experienced this. You're on a Zoom call and somebody says, "You're on mute." So how do you interact and deal with things like that? Because, we've had to learn quickly, right? Technology, not many people use Zoom before, then all of a sudden everything's now on Zoom. Other platforms are available, such as Google Hangouts or wherever it may be, or WebEx or something like that. So it's how do you adapt and how do you perform in those kind of environments? Because everybody could be on mute. People haven't necessarily got their camera on. We're used to interacting with people, and it's not just about what the magician does, it's about the spectator as well. So how do you get them involved? What happens if you're on the screen performing? Nobody's got the camera on. Everybody's on mute. How do you perform? So all of a sudden it becomes very visual. So you change your act. So for example, when I perform in person, it's very, very interactive. There's a lot of speaking parts. There isn't so much sleight of hand, which you may see in a kind of traditional magic show per se. So there's a lot of audience interaction. So if I'm performing virtually, I have to be aware that that may not be possible. If people don't want to put the camera on, then that's kind of their decision. But there are things that we would try to put in place before a show happens to kind of for those events, for everybody not to be on mute. For example, we'd send out instructions before a show. This is an interactive show. Please put your camera on. Please unmute yourselves. We will get you involved throughout the show. And the idea is that as time has got on, people have kind of got more and more used to it. We have to have somebody that's controlling the show as well. So there'll be someone in background that'll be selecting people to come on, because it's very, very difficult for you to perform and to be selecting participants as well. So it's little things like that. And these aren't things that we've had to think about before. So we've had to learn very, very quickly. And there's also, there's another arm to this as well. Magicians have had to become very, very technical and averse in cameras. So things like having a selfie light behind the camera to light up your face. Having microphones, good cameras that look down so you can do close-up things, so you can see a table. All these things you probably wouldn't have had to think about before, because you'd have a technical team around you that would do that in a theatre, say. So we've all had to learn very, very quickly. We've all had to invest in lots of very expensive kit. But all of this comes from being able to adapt. There are lots of people that have stopped performing now, which is quite sad, because they simply weren't getting the work in. There wasn't necessarily enough work to go around, which is another reason why I set up the Factory of Magic, because as well as performing, I absolutely love organising, I love planning, I love ranging. I get as excited about performing a show as finding work for a magician. So I want the magicians to concentrate on what they're really good at, and that's their art, their performance, the rehearsal, the practice. And I will come in and find them the work so they can think, brilliant, my diary's filling up this week because I found them work. So yeah, it's the world has completely changed in the magic world and how to perform. But fortunately, and fingers crossed, we are starting to get out there and perform again now. But going back to the start of what we're talking about, I think being able to adapt has been absolutely key, and also learn how to use Zoom properly as well, because there's lots of ways of using it.
That's a great takeaway for our viewers as well. You got to adopt whatever business you're in. You will have to adopt every now and then. It's not because of the pandemic, but every few years something new is going to come up, and you need to adopt to stay current and to keep growing. So that's a great insight, Dean. Now, talking about, engaging, and we know, that there are people who would do different activities to engage. How do magicians keep themselves motivated?
How do we keep ourselves motivated? Well, whilst it's quite a small community, the community generally at large are really good at looking after each other. So we have lots of forums on social media. There's lots of magic clubs all around all around the country and around the world. This isn't just UK based, of course. And there's a lot of well-being that goes on, so people checking in with each other. And also we inspire each other to create new forms of the art itself. So we will share videos of us performing. So we'll share, I will perform something to camera, or one of the magicians will send it to each other. So I'm talking about the agency itself here, but I know this goes on in the rest of the community. We'll watch that and think, brilliant, you've just inspired me to create something else. So that's a really good motivation. Yeah, it's a really good motivational tool from the perspective of the art itself, because it is an art, and some people argue, is an art or not? I argue that it is. It's a performance art. We dedicate our lives to it, just like a painter would, for example. Rather than a painter that's painting on a canvas, we're painting something that's probably in your mind. So I see it as a very similar thing, really. But just the idea of going out and to perform and entertain people is kind of motivation in itself, I think. There's another interesting avenue to this as well, Sachin, actually, and probably not something that we were necessarily going to delve into on this particular interview, but there is a stat that in terms of mental health, that 4 out of 10 performers suffer from mental health issues more than any other industry. So that's quite a high stat, and I've looked into this quite deeply and written some information on this. So if you're getting into that position where you're having kind of mental health issues, it's quite hard to get yourself motivated to do many things. So if it's quite prevalent in the performance art industry, it's how do you overcome that? It's an interesting angle. I don't think there's been enough research on it yet. But of course, the other thing is to think about is that if we're going out to perform, we have to present the best version of ourselves. Yeah. You can't turn up and go at 90%. You have to be 100% because you're entertaining people. You're there to entertain. I would have to say as well, the Magic Circle itself, which is based in London, is very good at bringing magicians together and promoting the art itself. And I think we all feed off that. There's kind of there's a lot of positivity around it, so that really helps.
Excellent. Now, with your your tricks that you do perform these different magic, how do you retain customers, and do you get any repeat customers? Because I think they must be thinking, well, I'm sure you are innovating and you have lots of things to do, but the customers must be thinking, well, we had magic show last time. Should we be doing one more again?
Absolutely. So retention,
the customers,
retention of clients is absolutely key. One of the reasons that I set up the agency, the Factory of Magic, not necessarily from a magician perspective, because we've kind of spoken about that, and me being able to generate work for magicians because I was worried about them not getting any work and not being able to show their art, but from a client perspective. So what we're talking about here is, how do we retain clients? How do we take them on the customer journey? Now, traditionally in magic, a lot of magicians don't come from a business background. Yeah. And I think we've fallen down in techniques that are tried and tested in business at large, which is what benefits me now, is having worked within the telecoms industry and being an account manager, working in sales, all the things that you would put into practice to retain customers, I'm able to put into the magic community. So let me try and give you some examples. So if someone approaches us with an inquiry for an event, so before they may have never booked a magician before, we will send them something in the post, whether they book something for one of our magicians or not, a thank you gift, for example. Now, let's say that they're putting on an event, they want some entertainment, they're not sure what they want to go with. Hopefully they'll book a magician, but they may say, no, you know what, we don't quite fancy it, we want a singer. So if we were to send them a gift, next time they're putting on an event, they're likely to think of us. That would also happen as well when someone books an event with them. We'll send them a gift. So it's little things like that. Good customer service, being really responsive, being able to share bits with them, and also really I think the key bit is being that trusted advisor. So when you're speaking with a client, they may never, and this is the same in any industry, they may never have used your services before, they may never have booked a magician, for example. So try and make it easy for that person to take on your services, become that trusted advisor with them. So for example, if someone's booking a wedding with us, one of the first things we'll say to them is that we don't want you to have to worry about the entertainment on the day. That should completely take care of itself, and these are the reasons why. So there's lots of bits and pieces to try and retain that customers. But I think also as well, lots of people put a lot of money into online marketing. But the best form I find for magic is seeing people in person, without a doubt, because I could put a really fancy video online of our magicians performing, but it doesn't replace the fact of that human interaction. So actually getting out there and speaking in person. We go to a lot of trade shows, for example, and we can actively show people what we do, but then walk them through the process as well. And I think the final thing that I'll add is we try to make it as easy as possible to book one of our magicians. So many talent agencies, if you go on their websites, they will have maybe 100 different acts. They may have a ventriloquist, they may have a juggler, they may have a comedian. Pictures of all these different people. And if you've never booked entertainment before, you may look and think, okay, they look okay. That person looks a bit creepy. They look sad. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. So if you go on our website, everything is streamlined. Okay, this specific person is perfect for a corporate event. This person is perfect for a wedding. So it's a very select amount of people. So the idea is you'll go on there. We need someone for a corporate event. We'll go with Rick.
Yeah.
That makes it nice and streamlined. There's a plain English contract. Everything is understood. We will jump on Zoom if we need to and perform. And just to make the process, really easy. So there's no kind of anything in the background. It's all kind of done up front.
Wow, fantastic. Okay. Hi there. I just wanted to share with you all why London School of Digital Business is doing this great people interview series. Well, for the last few years, small and medium businesses have been facing lots of challenges. Individuals have been wondering what's going to happen to their careers because of these emerging trends and technologies, artificial intelligence, VR, AR. What's going to happen? It feels as if the world is changing. And then COVID hit, and there is a lot of depression in the minds of people. So we thought we need to bring in some positivity, bring in some motivation and inspiration. And it's all good to know these stories of, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. But we wanted to talk about the extraordinary stories of the people that you get to see in the ordinary world. They are no way ordinary people. They are great people, but they are the ones you can relate to. Hence, we thought this is something that we want to bring in to increase the chances of success for many, motivate them, give them the insights. And I'm so happy to share that every leader has shared completely unique and different insights because their situations have been different. Somebody was alone, and we know that entrepreneurs are alone at the top and how it feels, and they fought their challenges. Somebody had partnership, business partners, and somebody could not survive the business partnership, so they had to rebuild themselves. Somebody thought, well, I could have done this differently if I was to go back in time. So every insight is so unique. I must thank all the people who shared their journeys, and I'm sure this will help you all succeed in life, increase the chances of your success, as well as reach there faster, and of course, achieve happiness in life. Thank you for listening. Fantastic. Okay. Well, let me go on to slightly a different mood, changing the moods of the conversation. If you see my backdrop, I have changed it to suit the entertainment industry, by the way. My typical one is usually, a little corporate style. So this is more of an entertainment backdrop I have. Uh, and I have a few small funny questions to ask. What's your favorite holiday destination?
Ibiza, and I have it tattooed on my wrist.
Oh, wow. Excellent. What do you do over the weekend?
I went on a roller coaster in a forest with my children. It was amazing in North Wales.
Amazing. You like any sports?
Yes, I love football.
Obviously, everyone in the UK, I think one of their favorites is football. Yeah.
Football.
How about your family and pets?
Yeah, so I have two children, a girl and a boy. I also have 3 pets as well. So this is very much a typical magician. I have a black cat and a rabbit. And a dog as well. So yeah, I may use them in an illusion one day.
Right. Well, the conclusion part of the interview, my question is, what is your ultimate goal, vision, or purpose of life?
Sure. So there's 3 things really, and I think they all merge into one. So the first is to generate work for magicians to go out and perform.
Mm-hmm.
To have the biggest impact of people around me. I want to leave a legacy, which one thing will be generating work for magicians. And then also just putting a smile on people's face, being human, being nice. It's easy to say, but there's things you can do to help that.
Great to hear that. Amazing. Who inspires you and why?
So there is a Vegas magician, surprise, surprise, a chap called Jeff McBride. He was the one that coined the term magic is medicine, or certainly when I heard it. So he is the most charismatic person I have ever met. And everything he does in person and online, it feels like he's constantly striving to kind of improve the lives of others. So he's been a real inspiration in my career, not just performing on stage, but in life as well.
Amazing. Well, I guess with this new era that has opened up virtual magic or magic shows, I think it will give an additional business. While now UK is open again, and we're all able to go and have these physical events, face-to-face events. But I guess what has been taught to us over the last couple of years, and what you have realized and practiced to do virtual, it means that with UK magicians, you could probably perform anywhere in the world. Any event in the world could be your customer. While earlier you would probably say, well, if the event is in Newcastle, let me see if I can find somebody local or close by, rather than somebody from Southampton to travel back to Newcastle. But now that's again not a boundary. Oh, you want that kind of a magician and you're okay with virtual? Well, somebody sitting in Southampton will perform for an event in Newcastle, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. We do have a magician in Southampton as well, actually. We do. He's called Lewis Hill. He's really good. We've also got some magicians in North America as well that are in California, and I wouldn't have met them without Zoom. So there are some things that have come out of the pandemic and the lockdown that have been quite good, such as the factory and such as me meeting these 2 chaps that are in North America. But yeah, for sure, we've performed for people in Spain, Israel, India. We have a couple of shows over there. So quite literally all the world. So, the platforms are there. You have to make the most of them.
Brilliant. So I would say we have our presence right now in more than 22 countries, where, we have some tie-ups with, some of the organizations. We have students taking courses. And if we were to host a magic show, right, definitely, we would go for a virtual one, because bringing people from 22 countries is just not possible.
Yeah.
So I think we will reach out to them with a smile. And to be honest, being a digital business, we never thought, why we would host a magic show. But now, after this interview, I'm feeling, well, the two reasons. One is to demonstrate to the world, even magic show can happen online.
Exactly.
We as a
It
digital
really
business-
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And secondly, if I can bring smile on the faces of 22 plus countries, people from 22 plus countries, wow, why not do that? So yes, I would probably be, very happy to explore the possibilities of, taking these magic shows internationally with your colleagues in the UK. And yeah, good luck.
Thank you very much. We would love to entertain you. That's exactly what we love to do.
Excellent. So thank you so much for your time. And we would look forward to seeing your magic very soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Sachin. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.